Hey, ya folks, this is Wild Philosophy again. So it looks like I bungled, and bungled royally, and you have my apologies on that account. I should explain. As I've mentioned before, I'm unemployed, and between that and the quarantine, my sleep schedule is really wild. So I'm recording this at 6:40 in the morning. I haven't slept all night. And it looks like I recorded an entire video on the benefit of practical wisdom and never touched on its relationship to philosophy. Because I am a genius that way. My apologies. I did mention that part of judging claims is epistemology. And this is one of the epistemology, for those who are unaware, is the field of philosophy that concerns itself with how we know what we know. It's probably the field least touched by, or least that the public is least aware of, but at the same time, it is, after ethics, it's probably the most useful field of philosophy, and in fact, I would be willing to defend the claim that epistemology is more useful than ethics or metaphysics or any of the other fields. But because the person who has the skilled epistemologist will always be a wise man. They might know nothing about morals, they might know nothing about metaphysics, but if they know how to acquire knowledge and they have a good grounding on that front, they can fix whatever deficiencies they may possess. And in this sense, this is the root of all practical wisdom, is epistemology. Then I mentioned also metaphysics and ethics. Briefly speaking, this will just be a short addendum to the other video. I cannot edit for the life of me, so it looks like we're getting 2 videos instead of one 13 or 14 minute affair. But briefly, the reason why a person studies philosophy is because philosophy has the toolkit that helps you understand the world. It helps you be a practically wise person. Epistemology lets you know whether, say, divination is a more reliable method of knowledge than scientific testability, or whether, like, what is the nature of rational thought? Is math purely rational, or is it partially empirical? Kant argued it is synthetic, as in both, whereas other philosophers think it's just in the mind. So that would be epistemology. And then, of course, there are also questions of ethics that let you read situations, metaphysics that let you identify the situation. Briefly, the person who studies philosophy to a much greater degree than anyone else, or than people who, in other professions who haven't studied philosophy, is much better at making these snap decisions. And I'm not, you'll notice I haven't even touched logic yet. And I'm not the greatest logician. There's a reason I'm called Wild Philosophy and not Good Philosophy. I never did well in that class. It's a bit of my weak spot, but at the same time, it is, what I do know and what I can impart to you is wild. It is way wilder than most people think, especially the way logic interact. A lot of people treat logic and reasons if it just stands on its own as this, like, pillar in nowhere, and we can just apply logic to everything. And then you study logic and you're like, oh no, because that's not the case. And this is actually useful in political discourse, because politics is a branch of practical philosophy, although the nature, how it is complex. Marxists equate it directly with ethics. Conservatives deny that claim. But, sorry, yeah, like, libertarians will often argue purely from reason, and one of the things that you discover when you study logic is you cannot describe reality. You cannot produce a successful political theory just using reason. It must have ethical principles. Now, the nature and extent and how we allow those to affect society are all other valid questions, which, again, would and should ought to be asked, and I'm not trying to denigrate libertarianism here because I think they have some superb critiques in other areas. I just think proceeding by pure logic is a recipe for disaster. Because pure logic does not include ethical values, for instance. But yeah, so that's the little addendum to the wider video. I am Wild Philosophy. May God bless you, and may he make me a better philosopher. Good day.